Weirdly enough, we actually have seen the character Sunspot in live action, well, very shortly because he was in Days of Future Past, but that movie left a lot to be desired. In comics, he's a beast. Let's get into it. He's one of the many mutants in the Marvel Universe. I mean, let's be honest, in Marvel, there's a lot of them. I mean, there's even different mutant teams, technically. See, Sunspot, or one could say Roberto, is a mutant with the ability to absorb solar radiation and metabolize it as superhuman strength. Just like many characters in comics, he's went through his fair share of adventures, had different costumes, evolutions. As you can see on these pages, it's pretty evident. Along with these abilities, of course, he's one of those characters that, just like a lot of characters, he improves as time goes by. It's talked about how Sunspot used to require direct sunlight for his ability to work. However, as he has matured, his capacity for storing energy has increased, stated on this page here, until he can now keep his body empowered for extended time periods, even at night or within an enclosed space, thanks to him improving and enhancements to his powers. I mean, it's even talked about on experiments like this, due to experimentation with them having him absorb excess solar radiation and stuff. You can look at this as part of the reason why he's gotten stronger over the years. One could say a permanent power-up, one could say. I mean, there was even points in his evolutions, after you could say his permanent power-ups or whatever, you could say he can just stay powered up, to the point where even maintaining a normal appearance feels unnatural. He actually has to try to keep his power level low. At nighttime, it's easier, but yeah, even being so powered up to the point, there was even moments where he thought he didn't need no other sustenance other than solar energy. When he was flying here, for example, they was asking, is he showing any signs of fatigue? They was like, no, he's actually getting stronger. You can make an argument that the stuff that used to threaten him, like bullets and sharp stuff, don't really threaten him after his permanent power-up. Like, you could argue like stuff like this. They say he would have got his spine torn out based on some of these older comics, but in more recent-ish stuff, when he got his power-up, this kind of weakness probably isn't no longer a factor. Considering in later comics, Iron Man literally calls Sunspot invulnerable, similar to what they call the powerhouses like pages like this, for example, show the term invulnerability. They usually use this term on powerhouses like Hulk, the Thing, stuff like that. So durability weakness that Sunspot used to have might not be a thing since that he's been called invulnerable after the power-up. You see what I mean? Right here, they don't just throw out this word invulnerable a lot in comics. They said this about Sunspot, so that should say a lot about Sunspot. Like, it's even talked about that he cannot regulate the energy the same way due to his power-up. He has to wear a regulator belt. Like, it's literally a cost to using his power the way he wants to. He got powered up. That's crazy that he can choose to be fire mode or just heat mode with no fire. Because his body can absorb solar energy and it can metabolize it, it gives him superhuman strength. They say 50 tons. You guys know how I feel about the word ton. Just say class 50 or whatever. It gives him extra stuff like superhuman strength and endurance. Sometimes he gets angry enough, his power will be released automatically. He's one of those characters that have super strength, and he has concussive blast power type. You guys know I use the word blast power a lot on the channel. He's a blast power type character. Whatever strength he might lack, his blast power might make up for it. He can also produce heat sufficient enough to melt bullets. We actually see him show plenty of examples of him producing heat or small fires. We've seen him burn through machinery, can straight up burn metal restraints into slag, even create his own vortex. He can literally burn the nanites out of the Hulk, like the Red Hulk. Yeah. And I guess it's expected for him to have all this heat manipulation type stuff. His name is Sunspot. He's pretty much immune to heat. He can like literally dive in lava or even thrust for flight. So yeah, he's another one of those characters that can fly. This kind of stuff reminds me of how Superman works when it comes to absorbing solar energy, because when he uses these concussive blast type stuff or energy blasts and stuff, it uses up his stored energy a lot faster. So it's smarter for him to actually rely on his super strength so he can keep that energy kind of contained so he can buff himself. They even state he's still vulnerable to bullets and blades and stuff, but his physical resilience to impact is somewhat augmented by using his powers, allowing him to strike objects with his full force without fracturing his own limbs, letting you know his body is durable enough to withstand his own recoil of his punches, so his durability does match up with his like raw punching power or just strength in general. Like throughout this video, you're probably going to see this a lot. I'm not going to mention it every single time, but every time he's using his powers, you're probably going to see, I'm talking about when he metabolizes his absorbed energy, you probably see his skin turn jet black, like this, and this. Just know that's when he's really using his powers. Also his clothes as well on certain situations. It's because his body is surrounded by an aura of small black spots. You see? Yes, Sunspot is that character you saw in X-Men 97, the animated series. Yeah, that's him, Sunspot. Yeah, Sunspot kind of reminds me of Superman, just slightly, only because he gets enhanced strength and durability and stuff because of his mutant ability to absorb solar energy. But real quick, before I even get into how strong he is and stuff real fast, there is implications. Even though he has all these abilities, he is a straight up fighter. Like, I'm talking about straight up judo training and stuff. It's even talked about his fighting skills here. Yeah. I mean, at one point he was even training for the Olympics. He actually knows how to wield a blade and use it, even though he says it's a waste of time. His skills are so good, even when other beings train him, he calls their training pretty much easy, saying he can do them in his sleep. So it lets you know he has a lot of training even before this particular being trained him or started training him. It's even straight up narrated that, yeah, he's had months of strenuous conditioning and acrobatic training. And to add more fuel on top of all of this stuff I've already said, thanks to him being cool with Professor X, he's got taught mental defense just for those annoying mind hacks type characters. But yeah, other than creating circles of flame and melting guns and stuff, let's get an idea of his actual superhuman strength, like his muscle itself. We literally see him lift up a car, chains he breaks on more than one occasion. Same with metal armor. Lifting a car, like I already showed you him do already, is one thing, but lifting a car and throwing it are two different things, like throwing it far. No wonder he can throw humans this far. Look how casual lifting cars is for him. He's out here lifting and throwing chariots to other chariots. And he's out here throwing heavy stuff like half a mile and stuff. All these bricks we see him lift up. We literally see him rip up the ground underneath the blob. He uses trees as baseball bats. Yeah, he's constantly lifting heavy debris or metal. How many tons do you think this boulder is? He's lifting it up with a finger and spinning it like it's a joke with laughable ease. So are you really shocked he can lift up like trucks, ice trucks and stuff with one hand? When you can toss trucks this far, what do you say about that strength? I mean, matter of fact, robots this big, you could estimate them weigh over 50 plus tons or even close to 100 tons. You can literally see how small he is compared to the robot. It doesn't affect the fact that he still can toss this big thing with his muscle. Seriously, how much weight do you think this is? This gotta be over 1,000 tons. Like this machinery? Look how big this giant monster is. This giant monster is probably over 50 tons too. I mean, don't think you can just trap him in the pavement. He just bust out with his muscle. I mean, look at his muscle holding back this big beast. It's crazy to think about all this stuff I've showed you, and I haven't really been spamming his energy blast yet. Like, he can do all of this stuff with blunt muscle, ripping metal doors off the hinges and using it as a shield and stuff. I mean, this guy dang near can probably lift 1,000 tons. I mean, we see this guy partially hold up a collapsing building. It's pretty much proven that Sunspot can lift thousands of tons so far. That's believable, right? So it's obvious with all this strength, the writers aren't going to give a character this much strength and they can't punch hard with it, right? That would be crazy. Why would they give him all that strength if they can't use it in combat, right? Even Marvel themselves agree when they give a character this kind of strength. When they talk about how a character can press a certain amount of tons, they literally reference on how if I can lift a certain amount of weight, you should get an idea of how hard I can hit you. So the writers are telling you when a character can lift a certain amount of weight or press it, they state when they press it, that gives you an idea of how hard they can hit. Marvel themselves say that. So their strength, their lifting strength does help how much weight is behind their hits. Same thing for Sunspot. It should apply. He's Marvel too. After all this stuff you've seen him lift in this video, him tackling beings through buildings in metal, concrete, that shouldn't really be a surprise. Doing all this to the cars, flipping them as collateral if they're fighting, hitting them. Look what the weight of his hits do to the ground, making people fly in the air from the shockwaves of his head. All kinds of walls he's striking through or busting through. Even when he doesn't have that much energy, he states himself, even when he's low in power, he still can bust through walls, hits crumbled his car, making people stumble from the weight of his hits hitting the ground. We've seen him even punch trees apart. Another situation of him punching a tree in half. Yikes, look at the weight of these hits. We've seen his punching power in action against certain opponents. So I've been showing you a lot of his muscle and just straight up punching blunt stuff. But yeah, this kind of stuff, this blunt power goes for his blast power too. He can produce this kind of raw power from far away. That's why you see his blast do blunt type of destruction to trees on more than one occasion. By absorbing enough energy, he can release more power than before. Let's just say he could easily level buildings and things of that such with his energy output. I mean, look at this big crater he created himself when he got overcharged and crap. I mean, we kind of literally seen him bring down a building right here. I mean, he hit it in a certain weak spot here, of course, so you'll probably think he can't really do it. Well, yeah, he can. He's shown kind of doing it here, but then there's more proof he can punch or blast down buildings. I mean, when you can smash boulders that are as big as houses, I'm pretty sure you can punch down buildings. I mean, houses are usually pretty hollow. Imagine your house, but imagine a boulder that's solid, filled in, no hollowness. Like, imagine how much that would be. He's shattering it. It's one thing moving a boulder this big, he's shattering them with his hits. He was smashing boulders as big as houses before they had time to even crush them and crap. I mean, even he himself believes he has the power to level a building. After all this evidence, this shouldn't really be a question, honestly. So yeah, he can literally blast down a building or buildings. What I'm about to talk to you about is something that kind of suggests that he's above everything I've even said when it comes to leveling buildings and stuff. Considering his power grid, his strength is pretty impressive. But Sunspot, like I mentioned already, he's one of those characters. You could say he's one of those characters that might actually be able to change tiers. The reason why I'm saying this is because, like, we know Silver Samurai is easily a super soldier tier, like up there with Captain America. Even can give Spider family members issues and stuff. And when Sunspot punched him, he said he cannot withstand another blow from a being like this, implying that Sunspot can hit too hard for him, saying he felt it through his armor. We've seen the weight of his hits blast War Machine, blast and make Psylocke kind of drowsy. High-end Atlantean tier beings that are very similar to Namor. You know how much of a powerhouse Namor is. We literally seen Sunspot. Would his muscle restrain such high-tier Atlantean tier beings while even underwater super hydrated at their max power? It shows his level of strength to be able to do this. Now, I know this is just a statement, but if we take it seriously when it comes to Sunspot being equal to X-Men tier, powerhouse tier beings like Colossus, if this is actually true, this will let you know he has to kind of be a planet buster by default, like similar to the other powerhouses. Because if you watch enough Marvel stuff, planet shattering stuff isn't really that big of a deal. If he's really up there with Colossus, considering that Colossus can literally match the muscle of beings like the Thing. The Thing is somebody that can literally move a mountain and can withstand a planet crushing on him. I'm talking about the Thing is somebody that can overpower a mechanism that can push through a planet. And they're trying to say that the Thing and Colossus have similar muscle power, even though we know the Thing's done stuff like this. And Colossus is right there up there with him in raw muscle. If this is to be taken seriously, this would just kind of automatically make Sunspot a planet buster by default if they're trying to say his punches are similar to Colossus. We've seen the Thing give Hulk some issues. Even if you want to say Hulk got advanced, that's fine or whatever, but that's not the point. The point is that he can give Hulk a challenge, and we know how easily the Hulk can destroy planets, or just Hulk beings, or Hulk gamma mutates in general you know how easily they can destroy planets and stuff. You see what I mean? Like, if the Thing can do that kind of planet shattering stuff and muscle and stuff, and Colossus is right there with him, and Sunspot is right up there with Colossus, he would have to be a planet shattering type being by default. I mean, wouldn't that make the most sense for Sunspot to be a planet shatterer too? I mean, it just wouldn't make sense if he wasn't. I mean, there's even narrations. It's not even the character being cocky. It's narrators. I feel like the narrator has more weight than the actual character himself, because the character could be being cocky, but when the narrator says a haymaker that would have staggered the Hulk, that kind of lets you know the writer intent. Because I know characters get cocky. Oh, I can do this to a character. But like when it's the actual narration saying it, I feel like that has more weight to it. You see what I mean? It didn't say beat the Hulk or nothing. It said staggered. Even though that staggered ain't really too much craziness, but yeah. I mean, if we were to go by the characters themselves being cocky, I guess you can kind of take what he says with a little grain of salt. But he even says, I will be your Hulk for the evening. So after he said that, there were characters that said, you're nowhere near that level. He said, oh, yes, I am, because I just switched off my regulator headband. Yeah, he had something to suppress his power. Yep. So if he lets his powers go out of control, apparently he can be Hulk level or something. And even says, I happen to be the strongest mutant on Earth. What do you think? But like, you remember this situation with Hercules that they had to do something with the planet's rotation? There was this wheel that was linked to the planet's rotation, so we need to hold it steady, but the strength it would take to hold up the world, it would be a Herculean task for a god. More than one god. They said, we need the Hulk after all, they said. We're out of Hulks to give, but guess what? Sunspot is supposed to be the Hulk for the evening to help with the planet's rotation along with gods like Hercules. This was a team effort, but yo, they needed god tier beings to do this. Sunspot was one of them, so it kind of just proves the point even further that under certain situations, he can achieve Hulkish Herculean levels of raw might. So does that planet shattering stuff I mentioned earlier make a lot more sense now? He had to help with something that was linked to the planet's rotation itself. So I'm pretty sure he can punch way harder than nuclear bombs and punch with way more force needed to mess up planetoids like the moon. It just makes sense. He's easily a planet buster. The writers wouldn't put him right there with Hercules if he wasn't mighty enough to help in this situation. I don't even want to get on the fact that Hercules has lifted stuff way heavier than planets like the literal heavens, the universe itself, but I ain't even trying to get on that and trying to compare Sunspot to this infinite type weight, but that's none of my business. And on this occasion, we see him punch an alternate reality Hulk, so what do you think about that? Do I see blood? Oh yeah, drawing blood feats get a little wonky in comics though, so yeah. In this particular situation, Red Hulk is not 100%, but look at the weight of Sunspot's hits when it comes to fighting like Hulkish beings. So when narrations state that he's equal to beings like, you know, Colossus, I kind of believe this stuff should be taken seriously when it comes to Sunspot. I mean, after his permanent power, you could say, or power up, Iron Man considers him invulnerable, which could explain, like, you know how to use that term invulnerable with the powerhouses like Hulk and stuff. So that could explain why he's getting hit by Hulk level beings and not turning into jelly. That could explain it, even though he's weakened here. But at the same time, he has been hit by one of the best powerhouses in Marvel. Marvel like the Thing. So what do you think? He did send Silver Surfer flying. That's something you need to put in consideration. Do you think this actually hurt Silver Surfer? And this doesn't even look like he was at his max mode. He wasn't even black looking. If he can affect Silver Surfer, we know somebody like him can withstand sun splashing in his face. So indications like this would kind of imply if Sunspot can literally really actually damage the Silver Surfer, if he can actually do it, considering how much blunt raw power that Silver Surfer can withstand, this would imply he's way above planet shattering level. Sunspot is, and more in that star shattering, even solar system shattering ranges. I'm talking about the power to easily destroy like millions of Earths and stuff. This implication with Silver Surfer would imply that about Sunspot, if that's to be taken seriously. Stuff like this would confirm his blasts are scarier or have more pressure or blunt pressure than black holes themselves, if he can really damage the Silver Surfer, considering what he can withstand. What do you think, guys? Do you think he can actually damage the Silver Surfer? Not saying he's necessarily equal, but if he can do some kind of discomfort to somebody that can just kind of withstand suns exploding in his face, that would say a lot about the energy he would be able to produce. He would literally be able to blast away this many Earths. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Because when you can blow away a sun, blowing away this many Earths wouldn't even really be a problem, honestly. Or if you can hit with the similar blunt force of a sun exploding. You see what I mean? He could hit with blast power that can go from one planet, go to the next one, mess them up in a straight line like that kind of thing. Punch or blast away a dozen planets. An alternate reality version of Reed Richards, the Maker, we see him literally damaging these level beings. At this point, how could you not believe Sunspot is a powerhouse tier? I mean, he's taking hits from the freaking Legion, one of the most busted X-Men that can create his own universe and crap. Who hasn't Sunspot blasted backwards? Just like many comic book characters, you know they gotta find an excuse for Sunspot to fight a version of himself. Kind of proves he can take what he can dish, literally fighting himself. If you leech his body heat off of him, like Rain and Fire did, like another version of him, he can basically just get that junk back and power himself back up. All this excess energy, you actually see Sunspot absorbing this off of Abomination, a Hulk tier. Let you know he's a really good energy absorber. And when we're talking about combat speed, we've seen him dodge punches from Hulk tiers, consistently dodging blitzes and sidestepping energy beams, avoiding tendrils. Danger Room session shows his combat speed. You could argue these are lasers or just normal energy beams. We see him reacting and literally avoiding, showing his agility and combat speed. I mean, he's tagging beings like Iron Fist, beings that have decent combat speed, like literally being fast enough to catch a bullet mid-flight. Combat speed. Like, that's the type of beings that Sunspot is tagging. These beings in Marvel ain't slow. That's why we see him react to stuff like trees falling on him punching it before it has time to fall. He instinctively rolled via speed. Honestly, just like a lot of Marvel characters, his reflexes, it should be like this. Like, he can react to light speed stuff, you know, standard Marvel stuff. What do you guys think? Did you guys know that Sunspot was this mighty? Doesn't have the most appearances ever, but the ones he does have kind of make a name for himself. I look at it like this. Anytime a character is narratively helping move something that Hercules needs help with, somebody that can lift the universe, hey, you got to be a powerhouse. That's Sunspot for you. But before I get going, like, subscribe, comment, share. Hit the notification button so you can get notifications for the channel. And thanks for the donations, y'all. Respect Sunspot one more time. Did you guys know he was this mighty? I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.